You are alone deep in the woods, sleeping in your family's log cabin. Your eyes shoot open with the sound of crunching footsteps outside. Or was it just the creaking of a cabin? Maybe a curious animal? You tell yourself that you're safe, that nothing can get inside, but your increasing heart rate and shallowed breathing catches you in your own lie. You stare at the rough log wall, following the sound with your eyes, and as if whatever it is feels your stare, the crunching stops, just before it would have wandered past the large window. You slink out of bed, your tight chest barely letting enough air in. Each step, careful and deliberate, hoping that whatever is out there can't hear the thunderous thumping of your own heart. You reach the window and slowly lean to the side, trying to catch a glimpse of what may be out your window. You freeze. Red, glowing eyes peer back at you. You suddenly notice how cold the night is when the growling starts. This is where you make your choice, although not a conscious one. Do you fight or do you flee? Silent Mourning is my solo-made indie horror game currently in development that forces you to face this choice. Here's what I did to invoke such a primal instinct. First off, the most important aspect to activating the fight or flight response is there needs to be a perception of harm, attack, or threat to survival. How do we achieve this in a game? We start by establishing a threat. We do this by reinforcing the idea that the player is not safe in what they're doing. The opening cutscene, you learn that your sister has gone missing in the woods that you're now driving to. If you listen closely, the radio mentions 4 hikers have gone missing in the woods nearby, and the forest ranger you talked to at the start of your first day ends the call with an ominous warning. These all compound into an understanding of danger for the player, and unconsciously they know something could go wrong. My game also benefits from being very obviously in the horror genre. This pre-primes people to be scared as they have a preconceived notion that being scared is going to happen. Being hunted. As far as animals go, humans are pretty scary. We may not be the biggest, or the strongest, or the fastest, but humans are by far the smartest. Well, most of us, anyway. So when something is trying to hurt us, we have tools that give us the advantage. But in a game, your set of tools are very controlled, and the creatures hunting you in Silent Mourning have the ability to be just as smart, if not smarter than you. For once, humans are the prey. This is not a feeling people are used to. The predator-prey dynamic is one of the fundamental reasons for fight or flight's purpose in the animal kingdom. So playing off evolutionarily designed fears will bring a sense of unease to even the toughest horror veterans. And let's end with everyone's favorite overused horror trope: jump scares. There are multiple ways we can look at jump scares, both artistically and biologically. Artistically, jump scares can be used as the payoff to prolonged tension and suspense. This means that, in some ways, the player knows they're coming, but it's still a rewarding yet scary experience. The other is the random jump scare. In games and media, in general, this feels like a cheap scare that, while it's often effective, isn't very rewarding for the player. Now, if we look at a jump scare biologically, it hits the trigger for attack, immediately switching our brains to fight or flight mode. Before the player can fully comprehend what has happened, their brain has flooded their body with adrenaline as they fight or flee. But the human body will also adapt, so too many jump scares, and they will no longer have the intended effect. So how do we use jump scares without it feeling like a cheap trick? The key is in giving the player power to combat the scare, and attach a meaning to the scare. In Silent Mourning, there are no random scares. They are all caused by an incorrect action, decision, or lack of action by the player. This is a fairly effective method in training the player to solve the threat of the creatures in the game. The initial jump scares will more likely trigger the attack response in the player, while also associating it with failure. As our body adapts to the jump scares being less startlingly scary, they become more emotionally scary. And this brings the perceived harm I mentioned earlier as one of the triggers for fight or flight. What starts as tension breaks becomes punishment or failure for the player. Using this, and many other psychological tricks, allows Silent Mourning to hijack your brain's unconscious response to fear as an extra layer to this already scary game. More interestingly, it also allows you to master this fear, turning progression into not just mechanical skill, but emotional skill as well. If you made it this far, I'd be very grateful if you go and subscribe and check out the game on Steam. There's even an early access demo you can go and play right now if you would like to begin to experience what I've mentioned here. This is a solo project, so all support is incredibly appreciated. Thank you for watching.